The third thing we still waiting on, but if I ever do a video with an update, you know what it's about, right? Hello and welcome to the podcast that the Lord gave me, Talk by Faith. So I said the next time He's telling me that I was gonna be in my cap and gown, I'm not gonna keep this on the whole time. Matter of fact, I'm gonna take it off now. 1 second. It's going to be a part 2 of my testimony. I told you in that first video I had asked for 3 things from the Lord this year, and I didn't tell you what the third one was, but I said that if the third one came to pass, then I'll be making continuation of my testimony. And the third one was, in fact, get a job, get a car, graduate from grad school. So it came to pass, so here I am. And I feel like the podcast name Talk by Faith really goes into my testimony and like the theme of this entire podcast, which it won't be long, so bear with me. So I really want to look at 2 Corinthians 5:7, where it says, "For we walk by faith, not by sight." And I think that's so important because when I asked the Lord for these 3 things, 1, I didn't have a job lined up. 2, I didn't have a car. And 3, I didn't know how I was going to graduate from grad school because I didn't have the job to give me the environment to actually do the performance assessment, right? So I really want to talk about what faith looks like in action, because I'm going to really be bringing everything back to James 2:26, which is, "For the body without the spirit is dead, so faith without works is dead." So this would technically be James 2:26b, because it's the B clause, or the second half of that scripture, right? So just want to start off real strong about just my testimony and starting off with the first thing, which was my car. I had to have faith that I was going to get a car. I had to walk into that dealership knowing I didn't have any money, knowing that if I got a car, I would really need a job after that. If I didn't walk into that dealership, if I didn't go in there with faith, knowing that I was going to leave with an answer or a car, then it wouldn't have worked out for me. So that's where I used my faith in that first one. The second one was getting a job. I had a coworker call me, and I talked about the counterfeit that I got before that, but I had a coworker call me. If I didn't pull over and send her my resume, that's me acting by faith. I could have just thought, oh, well, it's not going to work out like the first one didn't work out. No, I had faith that I was going to get a job. And I knew it was only God that my name was even mentioned in our conversation. So I sent my resume. Boom, that's the faith of that one. And then the third one was having faith enough to not make any more excuses. It took me 3 years to get my master's degree. And I kept having to push back when I was supposed to graduate because I was too overwhelmed by my classroom environment. I'm struggling with depression. I'm so tired, so drained, so this, so that. I just kept making excuses after excuses, right? And I could have very well made an excuse of why I couldn't finish this semester either. You know, after having 2 staff members fight, I don't know if I said this in the last video, but the state had to get involved. Child Protective Services had to be involved because of what happened in the room. If I would have allowed that to be another excuse, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. Now, I'm not going to act like I passed my assessment, my performance assessment with flying colors. I didn't. I got there by the hairs on my chin. But guess what? I got there because I knew that what I asked the Lord was going to come to pass, but I also had to put in the work. A lot of people have faith with no works. And I really feel like today's sermon really called me out, because it's like, what are you doing with your talents? That's another work as well. You know that God called you to be saved. You know that everybody has a ministry, but what are you doing with that? But I'm not going to get into that because Prophet Chantel already heard the big one on that one. But for me, it takes a lot of faith, and you have to remember certain people within scripture. You have David, who moved by faith to defeat Goliath and also to become king because he was anointed as a younger version of himself, but he still had to serve under Saul, and Saul still was trying to kill him and all this other stuff, but he knew eventually he would become king regardless of who was chasing after him. He had to have that faith. Esther, she had to have the faith to go before the king, even though that wasn't something that usually happened. You had to be invited by the king to come to his presence. She's asking him, can I come into your presence? So she's already starting off with something against her. She had to have faith that the Lord was going to release set her people free, that she was really going to get that help for her people that she needed. I'm trying to think of some other people. I know Hebrews 11 is filled with examples of faith. Abraham, it says Abel, Enoch, Noah, Abraham, like I said before. We have Sarah, a whole bunch of stories within, and a different accounts within Hebrews 11, where you could just find out what faith looks like, not just a definition of faith, because definition of faith is in Hebrews 11 and 1. Now, faith is the substance of things hoped for and evidence of things not seen. So that's a definition, but it doesn't just give you the definition in Hebrews 11. It gives you working examples of what it looks like, to have James 2:26. Without works, faith is dead. And in Hebrews 11 tells you what faith is and what it looks like to live it out. And so my challenge for you is to go into the book of Hebrews 11, and read about what faith is and how to apply it in your life, and even go a step beyond that. Find a story that sticks out to you in Hebrews 11, and then go back in the Old Testament and find it, right? Because that's really going to show you even more in depth what they did to prove that faith, to prove that what the Lord told them, they could do it. And 2025 really taught me that when you have faith, it's not just enough to have faith. You have to move on that faith. You have to show that you have that faith, right? And then if God said he's going to do it, he's going to do it. But don't sit on it. Don't sit on that faith and say, well, God's going to do it. No, you also have to do something as well. So that's just something that I learned. This is the second part of my testimony and the last part. And it has everything to do with me graduating. And I am thankful to the Lord, because like I was trying to say before, my actual camera broke, so now I'm using my phone because I am going to finish this. But like I was trying to say before, I was very afraid I wasn't going to graduate. And so, because my project wasn't completely finished, but I had planned to finish it throughout the school year, because I only had maybe like 4 months to do my project, and it's really a project that takes 9. But like I said, it was by the grace of God that I got favor on that project, that I was able to pass the performance assessment. And I'm just truly thankful to God for all that he's done for me this year. I'm excited to see what next year is going to look like, how he's going to continue to lead me through that. And I'll see you next week, and I'll probably be more dolled up, and probably at my graduation it's more going to be so a vlog, maybe with like a voiceover of scripture. So I look forward to that. See you next week, and hopefully I will have space on my camera.